Welcome back to the Next Trades YouTube channel. My name is Zero, and if you guys are new here, check out all our other content as well. We have tons of free content for you guys to study up on. We have videos that cover risk management, setups that I personally like to trade, videos on how to set up your Webull, many other videos as well, so check them out. Anyways, in today's video, we're going to be doing a weekly review, which is something new. I haven't done this before, but I thought it'd be interesting to go through my week, show you guys some of my personal stats, and then possibly highlight some trades that I took this week. And stuff like that. So if you guys would like to see more of these type of videos, let me know and I'll continue making them. So we're gonna be going over this past week, which covers January 18 to 21. It was a shorter week because we had a holiday on Monday, so it's only 4 trading days. So my total return was 24.34R. So that basically just means that I made 24 times what I was risking per trade. Let's say my average risk per trade was $100. Well, I made 24.34 times that, so that would mean I made 2,434. Let's say my risk was $1,000 per trade, then it just means I made 24 times 34 that. So that would mean I made 24,000 if I was risking 1,000 per trade. So that's how you interpret that. And I just like to calculate stuff based on our return, because somebody can come up here and say they made 100,000 this week, but you wouldn't know if that was good performance, or because you don't know how much they were risking. If they were risking $200,000 to make that $100,000, then that wouldn't necessarily be good performance. But if they were risking $5,000 to make that, then that's extremely good performance, right? So it's all based on what you risk. So that's why I base my performance off of that. I had a win rate of 71.88%, which is pretty average for me. That's around my average win rate, but I did underperform in terms of my risk to reward. So my average win was only 0.84 what I was risking, and my average loss was a little bit higher at 1.28. Typically I would like for these to be reversed, but just because it's been a tougher market and I've been taking more scalps where I take profits a lot faster, my stats are skewed this way, but I was still able to be profitable because of the high win rate. But again, I would like to change this for next week, so that's something I'm gonna be working on. My profit factor was 1.51, and this actually would have been a lot higher if I excluded the last day, which you guys will see right now in a moment. But 1.51 is still decent. Typically a good range would be anything above 2. Anything above 3 is extremely good, and then anything above 1 is still profitable, but it's not extremely good. It's just good enough. And then my largest win was 3.68R, and my largest loss was 2.61R. So those are some stats for this week. Now let's actually go to a visual of my week. So this was my P&L per day. On Tuesday, I had my smallest green day of the week, but it was still pretty good. Losses were pretty minimal that day and didn't overperform in terms of profit, but it was still decent, and I managed to finish the day green, so not a bad day on Tuesday. Wednesday was really similar, but I was able to get a little bit more profits and minimize the losses a little bit more, so it turned out to be a bigger green day. Thursday stuff started getting interesting. This was a day we had like SoFi breakout, so I caught some of that. I also had a really nice scalp on Roku off the open, and I think I was also trading Tesla puts to the downside on that day. So that was Thursday. My losses were a little bit bigger, but I also made a lot more. So this was my biggest green day of the week. And then Friday, which was yesterday, was a really frustrating day because up until like the last hour and 30 minutes, I was having my best day of the week. My losses were really small, and I'll show you guys how this looked before my final couple trades. But yeah, I was having a really good Friday. I caught a really nice trade on Saxo, which is like a semiconductors ETF, and I was just I was hitting all these nice little scalps throughout the day, and I could have honestly just called it a day there. I should have honestly done that, but I started over trading, and then once I hit that one loss, I started chasing my high of day P&L, because once you take that one loss, that brings you down from the highest point that you were at, you feel like you need to make that back. So then I started just revenge trading, making dumb trades, and it resulted in this. I went from having my biggest green day of the week to having my only red day of the week, which is really unfortunate, especially ending the week like that. It stings, it hurts, but at least it gives me these 2 days on the weekend to reflect and try to and really use that pain to motivate me to not keep making that same mistake, which is over trading. And if you guys go over to my Twitter account, which is 0nets, I post a daily report card of my day. I post how I performed. I usually include a quote of the day that is like inspiring / motivating, and then I describe my day and just talk about stuff I can improve, trades I took, things I did well that day, and stuff like that. And you can see this was my P&L before like I took those last trades, and then this was after. Really unfortunate. Like you can see, my losses were super minimal. I was having a really good day. It was my biggest day of the week. It was actually my biggest day of the year, actually, for 2022. And then obviously I had to go and overtrade, and it ended up in this, which is really unfortunate. Like I wrote here, I was really disappointed, frustrated, and sad, but motivated, because I like to hope that each time I make a mistake like this, I can use that pain to fuel me to make sure it doesn't happen again for next time. So yeah, it's a mistake. It's a mistake over trading that a lot of people deal with, but honestly, for somebody at my stage of trading, it shouldn't be happening this often. There's definitely something I need to work on, and my solution to that is I'm gonna start hiding my P&L again. I used to do this a lot back in the day, but now that this problem is reoccurring a lot, I'm gonna start hiding my P&L again, and I'm not gonna review it until the end of the day. That way, as much as possible, I can minimize that emotional impact that seeing that green or red has on you mentally, because that's a lot of you guys know trading is a big mental game. So getting rid of that emotional part from your P&L should hopefully help try to avoid this. So gonna be trying that out next week, and if I do make another one of these, I'll report back and tell you guys how I went. If not, just follow my Twitter and I'll update you guys there. So yeah, that was my week. Like you guys saw, I still ended up green on the week, and it was still a decent profitable week for me. It's not like that one red day blew everything apart. It was a pretty small red day because I was green up a lot. It was just frustrating doing that. It was really dumb, easily avoidable mistake, and could have been all green for the week, which would have been great, but had to ruin it in that last 1 hour of trading. But anyways, I wanted to go over one of my better trades of the week, which I mentioned was on Saxo. So let's review it. And before I do that, actually, I want to show you guys like why I was even considering this trade. So if you guys head over to the Nets Trades Discord, which by the way, if you guys aren't in it already, should definitely consider joining it. But if we go over here to watch list, which is where I post my ideas, I was looking at this level. So I think, when did I post this? On the 19th, we were looking for a bounce. We thought that could possibly be the bottom because Nasdaq had already dropped. At this point, we were down like 10% from all-time highs, and we were nearing this demand zone. So I was expecting a bounce here, and we were seeing a bounce. I think futures overnight were green, and then I posted here that we should bounce to at least a 0.236, but ideally we wanted it to bounce as high as the 0.382 and consolidate / hold. If not, if we didn't see a bounce that high, or if we bounced but then start coming back down immediately, that was a big red flag. And then what we saw was we weren't even able to make it to the 0.236. We just fell short of it, but we immediately started coming right back down. So that was a huge red flag. And after we saw that, we saw a big flush. I think this was on the 20th. So we saw a big flush on QQQ and SPY. You can see this. We had a huge dump. I'm pretty sure all of you guys remember this. So this was a day we opened up higher. Futures was green. We opened up green, and we started heading up, but it was you can tell that stuff were still not necessarily strong. Big tech like Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, all that stuff that leads to market was still looking pretty weak. And sure enough, we started making very weak high of days, and then we started fading, and then we got this big flush at the end of the day, which after this, I mean, we kind of needed a bounce. It was expected because it was just too big of a move to not, you know, you're always gonna get a reversion back to the mean. So that's the kind of what I was that was my thesis. I was expecting a bounce, especially after you have a big red day like this. The perfect setup you like to see is after a big red day like this, you open up flat or a little bit lower and you flush right at open, and then you're gonna get a big bounce, which is exactly what happened here. And so what I did was on Saxo, right after open, I was testing it to see if we were gonna bounce. So I opened up a position at 1.16, and sure enough, we got a small little push. So I ended up getting out at 1.4, which was a decent. I made like $24 off of this trade per contract, which wasn't bad. It was a decent trade. And then I wanted to see what's gonna happen. And the reason I got out was because although Saxo was bouncing, QQQ was still looking pretty weak. Like we had an initial green candle on the 5-minute, but then we started making new lows. So I decided to get out of this trade, which is the right idea. And then we started fading, and we made a new low of day, but we bounced right back. And then once we broke the high of this candle, I ended up jumping back in at 1.04. And at this point, my thesis was I expected us to make a new high of day, because we made a new low of day, but we didn't really get follow through on that. We started bouncing right away. So that's why I ended up opening a new position. You know, this position I had already gotten fully out, but I opened up a new position at 1.04. And I was green initially in the position, and we ended up pushing up, but we failed to make a new high, and we ended up coming right back down. But I still ended up holding the position because I noticed that semiconductors were being a lot stronger than the market. If you can see here, actually I'll do it. Hold up. Yeah, this is gonna mess this up. Hold up. I'll do on this too. If you look at the semiconductors like AMD, it was holding a lot better than the Qs. Like if you can see here, we were making steadily new low of days. If you look at SPY, steadily making new low of days. But if you look at AMD though, the price action is a lot stronger. We're not really making new low of days. We're kind of consolidating in this area. So that's why I ended up holding this position, and I wanted to see it. And it was also a pretty small position, and I was ready to add lower. So I ended up holding. Again, similar action. We ended up making a new low of day, but it wasn't getting too much follow through. We ended up bouncing right back, and then we failed again. So then I noticed we were making this like pennant, I guess you can call it. There's a name for this, but I forget what it's called when you're like downtrending and making new lows, but they're not really getting too much follow through, and then it gets tighter and tighter until you wait for a breakout. So that's kind of what I was looking at. At this point here, we made a new low, and again we were bouncing, so I ended up adding more contracts here at 76. So at this point my average was like at 0.80 something, but we ended up fading once again, and then same thing, we made a new low but didn't get much follow through. So at this point I waited to see how big this bounce would be, and sure enough it started getting faded again. And then same thing, we got a new low day, didn't get much follow through, and then we started seeing a bounce, and this time the bounce was a lot more stronger. And the reason for that was because we were getting confluent. And so if you look at QQQ, we got this nice wick right here on the 5-minute where we kind of got the final flush, and then we started seeing speed and volume towards the upside. And right when we saw that buying, I started adding heavy at this 48. So this is where I added most of my position. These were small entries, and then this one was a lot bigger. So this is where I added most of my position. And we were also getting a breakout of this little pennant here. So we were breaking this downtrend. So here's where I added. And also if you look at the like AMD and stuff, we broke out of this this tight consolidation and we got that nice flush. And then once again we see this wick right here, and that gave me a lot of confidence that we were going to start seeing a bounce, which we just needed a bounce because, like I said, QQQ had flushed so much since even the previous day. And sure enough, we got that bounce, and then I ended up taking profits around this 0.9 area, which is where I took off most of my position. And then once we got high of day, which was my thesis, from here I was expecting us to break high of day. So then I took off most of my position, and then I just left runners, which I took off up here towards the 1.8. So yeah, let me know how you guys enjoyed that trade review, and if you guys want to see more of these type of videos. Let me know how you guys performed this week. I know it's been a little bit of a tougher market. You've been having to go for more scalp trades because follow through, we just haven't been getting it as much, unless you've been playing to the downside, which in that case, congrats, because there's been plenty of opportunity to the downside. Yeah, I don't want to make this video too long, so I'll leave you guys there. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like on the video. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next video lesson. It's been me, Zero, and I'm out. Peace.